Garrett Crochet was named the Boston Red Sox opening day starter, but it's his reaction to it that tells you everything you need to know.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate, and currently the host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, well, it's free. So make sure you tune in because Locked On is here for you every single day. Happy Tuesday and welcome to the show. We are getting closer and closer to opening day. I am flying out Thursday morning down to spring training, so I will be there in Fort Myers. So if you're also going to be there, make sure to say hi, and I hope I can catch you down there. But looking forward to some warm weather as there is a bunch of snow on the ground in my house right now, and it is not enjoyable. So really looking forward to being down there and enjoying some Red Sox spring training. And they have gotten some spring training games in already so far, and that's all really exciting. And as they go through spring training, we look at what the roster is going to look like, and it starts at the top with Garrett Crochet being named the opening day starter. Why that's notable is coming up on today's show, as well as Brayan Bello taking the hill for his first spring training start over the weekend, and a potential Romy González replacement to keep an eye on. So when the Red Sox traded for Garrett Crochet last offseason, it was obvious that he was going to be the ace of this pitching staff. No doubt the best pitcher that they have in this rotation, the guy that they knew for years to come, okay, we are going to win baseball games if we have this guy on the mound. So Craig Breslow pulled it off, traded for him. Everybody got excited. And it was one of those moves where I just felt re-energized about this Red Sox team after they traded for him, because I said, yeah, I mean, they needed somebody like Garrett Crochet. So that got me so hyped. He was the opening day starter last year, and he was named the opening day starter again this year. So he will be pitching on March 26th in Cincinnati when the Red Sox visit the Cincinnati Reds. And while that shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody, because we all knew that Garrett Crochet would likely be the opening day starter, it's his reaction to it that it tells you everything you need to know about Garrett Crochet and his work ethic. So in past years, really dating back to, I would say, when Terry Francona was managing the team, the Red Sox never really gave definitive answers about naming an opening day starter, even if the choice was super obvious, like if it was Pedro, Curt Schilling, John Lester, or Chris Sale, they still wouldn't directly come out and say that. But in the most casual way possible, and on the first official day of his pitchers and catchers workouts, Alex Cora ended all the suspense, even if there really wasn't any, which there shouldn't have been, by just mentioning that Garrett Crochet will take the ball for him on opening day in Cincinnati on March 26th. He just said he'll start in Cincinnati for game 1. Let's get that stuff over with. Put it out there. No questions, no speculation. Everybody knew it was going to be him anyway, so it makes sense to just say it. So he said that, and then moments later, Garrett Crochet went over for his scheduled press conference, and as he got ready to answer his first question, Cora yelled at him from about 50 feet away that opening day will be his. And Crochet said, thank you to Alex Cora. And then Alex Cora said, you're welcome. At this time a year ago, Garrett Crochet was still getting indoctrinated to life with the Red Sox and was about a month away from foregoing his first chance at free agency by agreeing to that 6-year, $170 million contract with Boston. And in the first year together, the union between these two teams went as perfect as you possibly could have imagined it going. We really couldn't have asked for much else from Crochet. He went 18-5 with a 2.59 ERA and 255 strikeouts. And the final start of his season, which ended up being the only one he would make in the postseason since the Red Sox sadly got eliminated in the wild card round, was an absolute masterpiece, going 7 2/3 innings, giving up just 4 hits with 1 run, no walks, and 11 strikeouts, as the Red Sox beat the Yankees 3-1 in game 1 of that series. So that became pretty obvious that he is the ace of the future and that trade was worth it, and you do it every single time. I know they gave up a haul of prospects for him, but no doubt about the fact that you do it every time. So now in year 2, it's more of an afterthought than a necessary announcement that he's opening the season for the Red Sox, because who else would be? But Alex Cora decided to make the news official with pitchers and catchers being there so that there would be no question about it. Garrett Crochet said he had joked about it and jabbed about it in the past, but I'm still trying to work like I'm trying to make the team. To start for this team on opening day again is a pretty cool feeling. That to me is notable, that quote, because that really says it all about Garrett Crochet's work ethic. He knows internally that nothing's guaranteed. And despite the fact that he had a dominant season last year for the Red Sox, finishing second in American League Cy Young voting, that doesn't mean it's just going to be handed to you. And in this case, it kind of was, because he's the ace, but he has a mentality of, that's not guaranteed for me. I just need to continue to earn the ability to be here and pitch every 5 days. And that's the type of mentality you want out of a pitcher on your team. A guy who's going to show up every day, giving 100% and not act like their spot on the team is guaranteed. And you do have guys sometimes who can forget about that, or it can get lost that there can be replacements. And let's be honest, there's no replacement for Garrett Crochet, and there really isn't anybody who's a better pitcher than him on the team. But he's not operating that way. He's operating like, every day is me working to keep my spot on this team. And I love that. I think that's super admirable. And that's the attitude you want from your ace. Somebody who doesn't get complacent and gets too comfortable with the fact that they are the best pitcher on the team, but somebody who knows they have to continue to earn it every single day. And what's exciting is that he's obviously still the centerpiece of the pitching staff. I mean, when you look at his stats from last year, he was well above average in basically every category. 93rd percentile in strikeout percentage, 87th percentile in walk rate, 90th percentile in chase percentage, 85th percentile in average exit velocity, 82nd percentile in fastball velo. His fastball averaged 96.3 last season. Hard hit percentage, 75th percentile. Ground ball percentage, 81st percentile. So pretty much Garrett Crochet can do it all. Can strike out a lot of people. Doesn't generate a lot of hard contact. And he's a guy who's going to be able to pitch with a sense of command so that he's not giving up a lot of walks either. He really just does it all at a really high level, and that's what an ace does. He has 5 different pitches that he uses between his 4-seamer, his cutter, his sweeper, his sinker, and his changeup, with the 4-seamer being used the most at 36% of the time. And his official stats to go along with that 2.59 ERA and 18-5 record, started 32 games, pitched 205.1 innings, and recorded 255 strikeouts. I mean, the superiority and dominance there goes without saying. So it was pretty blatantly obvious that he was going to be the opening day starter, but I just really think it's notable, that quote that he mentioned, that he's still working every day to make the team. And that was the attitude he had about it. And he was just as excited about being the opening day starter this year as he was last year, even knowing the circumstances and knowing that the Red Sox look to him as the ace, because he wants to continue to prove himself and continue to prove that he deserves to be here. So that's really powerful. And Garrett Crochet actually spoke on a lot of the rest of the pitching staff for this team. What should be a loaded rotation when you look at veterans Sonny Gray and Ranger Suárez being part of that, and Johan Oviedo, which is an up-and-coming righty that the Red Sox are very high on, and also Brayan Bello, who was the opening day starter 2 years ago, or top lefty prospects Peyton Tolley and Connolly Early. So a lot of people are in the mix there, and Garrett Crochet actually spoke on these guys. He said, Sonny brings a ton of experience and a ton of strikeouts and innings over the past couple of years. Obviously, we've seen what Ranger has done in the NL and in one of the better divisions in baseball, and also in one of the more hostile environments in baseball. So I think that we're excited to see him meet the challenge in Boston. And Oviedo has got an incredible profile. Just watching him throw bullpens and stuff like that, you see the pitch shapes and the arsenal as a whole. And there's a lot to like there. And with the young guys as well, Early and Tolley gained a lot of experience last year. Not to say that those guys will be relied upon solely as depth options, but I think that if we found ourselves in a position where those guys are throwing impactful innings, I think that we're in a really good spot. So he says they're in a really good spot with all those guys, but if Crochet is the ace, that also puts the Red Sox as a whole in a really good spot. So you have to be excited about the mix of pitchers that the Red Sox have in this rotation. And if it's coming from Garrett Crochet, who's one of the best pitchers in the sport right now, and he's commending the other starters in this rotation, you have to feel like there's something to be said about that. Even with Sonny Gray, obviously there is a little bit worry about his age and him getting older and not really knowing if he's going to be able to repeat the season he had last year. But there's something to be said for having a veteran pitcher of that caliber in your rotation who can help lift up and enhance the young players. And that to me is a valuable asset that Sonny Gray is going to bring, even if he's not as sharp in particular on the mound as he was last year. That's something that he can absolutely bring to the table. Ranger Suárez, dominant, especially in the postseason. And Crochet brought up a really good point that he's used to pitching in Philly, which is a really tough environment to play baseball in, just as Fenway is a tough environment to play in. And being part of this Boston fan base and having them all watching you, Ranger Suárez is used to the intensity of that type of fan base by being in Philly. So hopefully it's a smooth transition for him and the results can stick. And we've seen him throw really well. So there's lots to be excited about there. Johan Oviedo, I think the Red Sox are really excited about the mix of pitches that he brings to the table, and that's something they're looking forward to experimenting with. So having Garrett Crochet speaking really highly of these pitchers is really notable, but him being the opening day starter was never a question, but his reaction to it is more the storyline here of continuing to work and be better every single day, and that's that dog mentality you need to have at the top of the rotation. So I'm really excited to see how the rotation plays out in 2026, including for Brayan Bello, who made his first spring training start over the weekend, and I'm going to be discussing that next. If you're in a job where you have to involve hiring and interviewing people, Indeed sponsored jobs is the place for you, because when you're dealing with other workplace chaos and deadlines and your inbox overflowing and things like that, the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. This can help you feel a lot less overwhelmed, because what it does is it actually helps filter out candidates so that you reach the people who are actually the right fit instead of just going through thousands of resumes, and it saves so much time. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support this show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Red Sox. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Definitely take advantage of it. And also, baseball is back, and you can lock in by joining the Everydayer Club, which gets you ad-free episodes and access to our group chat on Discord. This week only through February 28th, you can use code SPRING for a free month. Go to LockedOnRedSox.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes. Lots of perks there, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. Make sure you head to that if you want exclusive content. Spring training's here, everybody, and I am amped up for Red Sox baseball. It feels like this winter has been such a drag, I think, because here in the Northeast, it's been one of our worst winters on memory in a while, so that doesn't help the cause. But I am just so looking forward to warm weather and Red Sox baseball, and I know the players are excited to be back. Alex Cora and the coaching staff are excited to be back. It's just good vibes all around down in Fort Myers with the team right now. I will be down there, like I mentioned, later this week, and we'll be talking about how everybody looks then, and I'm just really looking forward to it. But one pitcher who made his spring training start over the weekend was Brayan Bello. And while it wasn't the best outing overall, he's still really excited about what he took from it. Now, keep in mind that spring training isn't about wins and losses. It's not about overall performances. It's about getting guys reps. Maybe if they're working on a new pitch, they're trying to unlock that, so they're experimenting with it. Spring training is experimental. And even with Brayan Bello struggling early on in the first inning of his outing, spring training has a rule where you can pull a pitcher, let somebody else come in and finish the inning, and then bring that pitcher back in. So that was kind of the treatment that they gave Bello. And the point being is because it's not about wins and losses, even if a pitcher is struggling a little bit, you still want them to be able to work through things because that's what spring training is for. And Bello walked out of his outing feeling very optimistic. Now, last season, he produced career bests in ERA with a 3.35 and innings pitched with 166 2/3 while serving as the team's number 2 starter behind Garrett Crochet. So it didn't appear fully like something was off with him until the last month of the season when he started to decline a little bit. What had long been Bello's top weapon, his changeup, ended up disappearing on him, or at least the effectiveness of that pitch kind of disappeared. And that was one of the biggest reasons for his downfall later on in the season. So after a winter of searching, he kind of found that again. And that's what had him smiling even after his Sunday outing, which led to 1 1/3 innings, giving up 4 hits and 4 earned runs during a game in which the Red Sox would end up winning 11-10 versus the Blue Jays. And if this was the regular season, people would be ripping him because that would be considered a terrible outing. But again, because it's spring training and wins and losses don't matter as much in spring training, it's more about getting those reps in and finding your stride. He's now 26 and entering his 4th full season. So he's at the stage in which these Grapefruit League outings can be used to focus on a specific pitch rather than overall results. And that's exactly what he did. He just said, just keep throwing the changeup, be more consistent with it. Today, I was very happy because I think I was very consistent with it. And I also has given me a lot of depth, a lot of movement. That's one of the things I wanted to work on. And I've been working on the past few months, throwing the changeup to righties and lefties and at any count. I think today we were able to take a step forward with that pitch. So how did he actually lose the feel for this pitch last season? So he said, last year I was working on adding a cutter and a sweeper, so I lost the feeling for the changeup. This year I have both of those pitches locked in and I was able to work on the changeup. So that's what happened. So essentially what could happen this season is that he now has a chance to put all of this together for ultimately the most complete season of his career, which could be very scary for the league because if he's able to put it all together, he could be a very strong number 3 on a team that has a very strong 1 and 2 already. With 543 1/3 innings under his belt, he had to grow up fast because he arguably was called up before he was ready for a last place team in 2022 and then served as a headliner for largely inexperienced pitching rotations that the Red Sox had in 2023 and 2024 when they also weren't contending. So it was fine to experiment with Brayan Bello and see what he had because they weren't making a playoff run. And then Crochet came and provided instant credibility last season as the ace. And then Bello and Lucas Giolito ended up supporting the overpowering lefty, leading the Red Sox back to the postseason for the first time since 2021. And we saw a lot of reliability from Brayan Bello, but there's now more to help this season. So because Ranger Suárez and Sonny Gray are here, likely Brayan Bello is the number 4. So instead of just sticking with what has gotten him to this point, he's not only resurrected his changeup, but he also added a curveball with some grip tutelage from Suárez. Because I have heard that Ranger Suárez has been helping a lot of the other pitchers a lot, which I really like. So it's great to have him there in that regard. Bello said last year I was battling with 2-3 pitches. I was able to have the season that I had, but I feel like this year for me, coming into camp feeling healthy, adding in the curveball and having the changeup back, which is one of my best pitches, I feel like I'm going to have a better season. Also, I'm more experienced, more mature. So having that repertoire and adding that experience again is going to be a recipe for a good season. When he broke out that new pitch on Sunday against Blue Jays outfielder Jesus Sanchez, he not only got a swing and a miss, but also a laugh. He said, yeah, I threw the curveball today to Sanchez. It was a very good one, and he laughed at the pitch. But yes, I've been throwing it. I'm going to start throwing it more often. Today, I felt comfortable throwing it with 2 strikes and also got a swing and miss. I think that from now on, that's a pitch I'm going to rely on because I'm able to command it as well. So just as he'll increase his reliance on his arsenal, the Red Sox should be able to rely on him more. Alex Cora said he's in a good spot. Just let him be. He's a guy that we can rely on. He can give us innings. He's really good at what he does. So Alex Cora is really excited about Brayan Bello going into 2026. Now, obviously, Cora is not going to ever say publicly, I'm not excited about that player. That just doesn't happen. But I know that Brayan Bello and Alex Cora have a good relationship, and Brayan Bello especially has a strong relationship with Connor Wong. Wong was Brayan Bello's personal catcher last year and was able to bring the best out of him. And I do feel like in the month of September, there could have been a little fatigue that was an aspect in that because he did come back from injury early on in the season. So he could have had a situation where his arm just got tired by the end of the season, which could have led to part of the decline. But also he could have felt like his pitch selection was catching up with him. Maybe hitters were figuring it out a little bit more. So now he's hoping to save himself from that. And now not only does he have 2 or 3 good pitches, but he now has 4 strong pitches to incorporate in his arsenal, which naturally should allow him to be able to continue to elevate his game on the mound. And if that ends up being the case and you're looking at a 1 through 4 where you can rely on everybody in that group, then it's hard to not confidently say that the Red Sox have one of the best rotations in Major League Baseball. And say Brayan Bello far exceeds expectation. Say he incorporates this changeup into the arsenal, and then he utilizes his 4 pitches at a very high level, then maybe he moves ahead of Sonny Gray as the number 3 starter in the Red Sox rotation. But the good news going into the season is that he doesn't have to be locked into either of those spots. He could be in the number 4. He could be in the number 3, depending on how all these pitches look for him and his comfortability level and how he's able to fool opposing pitchers and hitters by having them not be able to follow his arsenal and what he's doing on any given day. And if I'm a hitter and I'm going up against him, knowing he added a new pitch into his arsenal, I'm saying, well, this isn't ideal because, I was starting to figure him out last year. And if you're pitchers from another team that's playing against the Red Sox, now the pressure's on you to make sure your arsenal is enhanced so that you can outpitch Bello when you go up against him. So it's a good feeling in order to be able to keep other players uneasy. And I'm glad he worked that changeup in on Sunday. And that's where it goes back to the point of, again, you don't need to look at his stat sheet and then say, wow, Brayan Bello is going to be really bad again. For one, it was his first spring training start. Everybody's still easing back into things. Everybody's still seeing live hitting for the first time in a while. So it's not just a Brayan Bello thing. A lot of pitchers need that time to kind of get themselves ramped up again. For 2, you're not really pitching to win the game when you're starting a game like that, because again, it's not about wins and losses in spring training. Obviously, winning is nice, but these games don't count for your record. So you're more pitching for the longevity of, okay, what's going to work for me this season and what's not. And if from a stat sheet perspective, you gave up a lot of runs, that's okay, because then you're able to figure out what wasn't really working for you that you can bring into the season. So it's all experimental, but the fact that he added a new pitch back into his arsenal, his changeup that he did have at one point, but it kind of got lost on him, that's going to naturally make him a more dangerous starter in 2026. So should we expect big things from Brayan Bello? Hopefully. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the way that he's able to incorporate that pitch. But coming up, Romy González may not start the season healthy, so who could be a potential replacement for him? Just a reminder that you can subscribe to Locked On Red Sox on any podcast platform, including YouTube, as I am here Monday through Friday to give you the latest and all things going on with this team. You can also follow me on social media at Gabby Maljanian on Twitter, at Gabby_Maljanian10 on Instagram, and at LO_Red Sox for the show's Twitter account. So you can do all that and also subscribe to the Everydayer Club to get exclusive MVP caliber stuff, like a Discord server that's just for listeners of this show, as well as an ad-free audio feed. And if you do the all access tier, you get one-on-one texting with me to have your questions answered about the Red Sox, as well as all access content you won't find anywhere else. So make sure you check out the link in the show notes and subscribe. We have made it to spring training and we have almost made it to opening day. I cannot wait for when that line comes out of my mouth. Happy opening day. I am so excited. The Red Sox are on the road for opening day in Cincinnati. Should be a good series. The Reds were a playoff team last year, so they'll be immediately tested against a team from the NL that's pretty competitive. So I'm really excited to see how that goes. But one player who may not be ready to go for opening day from a physical health perspective is Romy González. Now, the Red Sox have already talked about this and haven't really given a direct timeline for his return. He's just dealing with a lingering shoulder injury that came up towards the end of last season. And I talked about him on yesterday's show too, and kind of what a potential absence from him means for a guy like Marcelo Meyer. But if he isn't ready by opening day, the team will need to replace his production offensively, because Isaiah Kiner-Falefa doesn't really replace his productivity offensively, so you can't really just say, okay, IKF's going to be the solution. Romy is more of a utility infielder who kind of plays a mix of everything. So if they do, for example, have Marcelo Meyer opening the season at third base and Caleb Durbin at second base, or vice versa, whatever they might decide, those feel like they're the everyday guys that are going to be in the mix. So replacing Romy won't necessarily be with an everyday player per se, unless, of course, we go back to the conversation I had yesterday about Marcelo Meyer and where he stands with this team right now and if he's going to be on the opening day roster. But a Romy replacement type of guy is more for a guy who can platoon against lefties, maybe not give the same level of productivity that Romy did against lefties, but be a guy who can be serviceable and hit in his spot. So one player to keep an eye on is newly acquired Andruw Monasterio. The Red Sox acquired him as part of the Kyle Harrison for Caleb Durbin swap, and he's already making waves in camp. Last week, Alex Cora actually praised him for his versatility and energy, noting that his power has stood out. He said specifically, Monasterio, great athlete. You see him here, it's like, oh shoot, he can move, he's versatile, he can hit lefties, he's got some pop. Monasterio has spent the last 3 seasons with the Brewers, slashing a .250 batting average, .321 on-base percentage, and .351 slugging percentage in 219 career games. He's played all over the infield, with most of his appearances in 2025 coming at shortstop. In his career, he's posted a .727 OPS against left-handed pitchers, an area where the Red Sox will need production in Gonzalez's absence. So there's promise there, because he has shown a proven ability to hit against lefties. Now, again, Romy's an absolute lefty killer, so he may not hit to the same level as he did, but a guy who can hit lefties well is definitely ideal. Also, the fact that he also has played all over the infield is good, just because most of his appearances came at shortstop, and obviously Trevor Story is going to be taking up that spot. That doesn't mean he can't provide value, because he has experience playing the other infield positions too. He could slide in nicely as that utility option who kind of plays wherever the Red Sox need him to, and definitely be in there to hit against lefties, especially if Marcelo Meyer does make the opening day roster, and if the Red Sox aren't necessarily comfortable with where he's at against left-handed pitching. This could make a lot of logical sense if Romy's not ready by opening day. Monasterio was fired up to hear what Alex Cora had to say about his early impressions of him. He said, it's a privilege for Alex Cora to say that about me. That gave me more energy to come to the field and make myself better. So early roster projections for this Red Sox team might have him on the outside looking in, but the injury to Romy gives him a good opportunity to earn playing time. His versatility should definitely keep him in the mix, and his ability to pull the ball in the air will pay dividends at a place like Fenway Park. So just to clarify that, somebody who has the ability to pull the ball in the air and can elevate it, it can travel a little bit further. In a place like Fenway Park, thrives on those types of hitters. So his bat could fit in really nicely. If he can provide offense against lefties, then he could be a key bench piece for the Red Sox this season. And it's only February, obviously, but the regular season is going to be here before you know it. And he's off to a good start with his new team. So it's definitely promising that he's showing up at the level that he is right now in spring training, because obviously when a player gets hurt, who's normally a key piece to your roster, it's never ideal. And there could be some panic that sets in of, oh, what are we going to do? But in this situation, if Romy misses opening day, Monasterio to me is a good option to have. And this is why it goes back to the fact that Craig Breslow was so adamant on building depth this offseason. Did he do enough to improve the offense? No. The lineup could be better than it is, no doubt about it, no hiding that. But from the pitching moves that he made, he brought in a lot of depth. And in this infield move, when he traded for Durbin, he also brought in more infield depth as well. And this is where that's coming in handy, because if Romy's not ready for opening day, Monasterio could be the guy. And then if Romy comes back healthy, then Monasterio maybe gets optioned to AAA, and then they kind of bring him back up as needed if another injury takes place. But this is a guy who has a ton of potential, and if the Red Sox really like what they see, I wouldn't be surprised if they keep him on their radar to potentially be on this opening day roster. So yet another player that I am really excited about, and I'm curious to see what they end up deciding to do. But he has the ability, and with his style of play on offense, that could really play at a place like Fenway Park. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. But thank you so much, as always, for tuning in to Locked On Red Sox. Be sure to continue to tune in Monday through Friday, all throughout spring training and into the season, for all new episodes, including some player interviews along the way that you definitely won't want to miss. So make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Red Sox so that you get all the latest episodes and don't miss anything. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Red Sox ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonredsox.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, I'm sending you now to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Baseball as you gear up for the Major League season. Make sure to check that out as well. Keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.